Hello, my name is Glenn Robinson, and thank you for joining me on my first meditative walk. I had the idea of doing this type of recording a few weeks ago. I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of shoot the breeze, whatever. A little bit about myself first of all. I've been living in Edinburgh now for almost 10 years, but as you might tell from my accent, I'm originally from Bangor, County Down. The topic of conversation today is, I think, something I've been thinking about for a little while. This is reconciliation. For the last few decades, there's been relative peace in Northern Ireland, and I think a lot has been achieved over that time. Political parties are, I guess, to some extent working together to achieve positive outcomes for everybody. Of course, there have been, I guess, lots of hiccups along the way. Stormont, the Northern Ireland Assembly, has collapsed on several occasions. That's not specifically really something I want to go into too much detail about. Rather, I want to think about some of the things that perhaps haven't been focused on too much, and maybe take a more theoretical approach to the question of what reconciliation means. Being born into, and I guess living through the troubles, it's a strange kind of experience looking back on that. One of the things people who don't have that experience perhaps don't recognise is the fact that that was our normal. To, I guess, experience some of the things that we experienced back then, hearing bombs going off, perhaps even having close family members or friends in some way being hurt, injured, or worse, or even experiencing some near misses. People, by and large, learn to get on with their life. They live their life every day. They still went to work. They still went to school. Moving away from Northern Ireland and living somewhere else also brings, I guess, a different perspective as well. In hindsight, some of the things that perhaps you considered normal were perhaps strange when looking through different lenses. Not that there is a normal wherever you live or wherever you come from or whatever life brings you in terms of experience, but it was certainly a broadening of the perspective, which is, I think, helpful in discussing some of the things we want to discuss. When we talk about reconciliation, therefore, sometimes we're trying to reconcile perhaps opposing views or reconcile people who have a different outlook, and in its basic sense that may seem very straightforward. There are different ways in which people may express their identity, and within the kind of Irish, Northern Irish context, that was done through the lenses of Irishness, Britishness, either or. So why is that important? It may seem trivial to people who perhaps didn't live through a conflict. I think it's important because one of the things that, I guess, helped the people safe at a time where they've experienced various different traumas, it's a sense of community. Be able to feel safe can mean, I guess, being with others, or rightly or wrongly, you feel you can trust. And then by extension, people outside of that identity may in some ways seem threatening, or at least there might be some sort of caution exercised if there is, I guess, a broadening of outlook or experience. So I think it can be quite a difficult thing to look at it from a kind of psychological perspective. There can certainly sometimes be a sense that the expression of those identities, certainly in their extreme form, are in some way closed-minded or even bigoted or worse, and sometimes that expression of what is deemed to be narrow-mindedness doesn't fully take into account the question of trauma and how identity can be wedged within that. I think there's almost like a collective egotism involved. Our ego is there to protect us from the outside world. Having a sense of who we are can instill confidence and purpose, but sometimes an ego that is overstringent can also become quite brittle. So these are some of the thoughts I've been having, in terms of, I guess, from my own life experiences, both reflecting upon myself and others around me. So, diverting back to the kind of peace process, I don't think there was a lot of psychological consideration given to the question of reconciliation. A lot of work has been done on the question of rights in terms of the fluid kind of ambiguity that can be respected in terms of questions of identity. But this has tended to be within the kind of political realm. And of course, civil society is much broader than that. So as we kind of move forward with new challenges, my hope would be that we are able in some way to consider those psychological questions to a greater extent. If you have any thoughts on my reflection, I'd be grateful if you would perhaps comment on the link below. And thank you for listening to this first podcast. I really appreciate it, and if you like what I said, or even if you felt engaged, you might not necessarily have to agree with everything. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.